Your political writer for BuzzFeed, McKay, Coppins, and senior editor at MSNBC.com, Beth Fooey. Good to see both of you. McKay, you're actually working on a book right now on the GOP, right? So you're the perfect person to ask how these delays with Obamacare are going to play into their attacks in 2014.
I mean, this plays into the Republicans' narrative all along, not just about Obamacare, but about President Obama himself, which is that he's incompetent, that he's not ready for the task that he has at hand, that he's not really fit for the Oval Office, not because he's necessarily a bad guy, but just because he's in over his head, right? And so every time one of these Obamacare delays happens, I don't know that it actually makes a huge difference in terms of the midterms. I don't know how many voters are going to say, oh, they gave people another 2 weeks to sign up for Obamacare. That must, I'm not voting for the Democrat in my district anymore. But I think what this does is it says, President Obama, this is his key signature accomplishment from his entire presidency, and he can't get it done. He can't get it rolled out. What does that say about him, and should we really believe him that this law is ultimately going to help people? That's the Republican argument.
Yeah, and I guess the question is, will this have legs come November among the undecided voters? In many cases, the Republicans are preaching to the choir right here, and what the Democratic response is going to be.
Well, I agree with what you said. I mean, people are not going to not vote for a Democrat because of this delay in the implementation. I mean, look, people are going to get covered. They just are. The deadline's going to get pushed back a little bit. People will jump on. A few people will be penalized for not getting on. They'll get on next year. This law is done. It's over. So, yes, it's going to rest at the ballot box in November how people want to take action. And Republicans are gambling, probably rightly, that a lot of Democrats are going to go down over this. Now, we don't know 100%, but the more people get covered by Obamacare, the harder it's going to be for Republicans to do their stated goal of repealing the law.
And part of the larger conversation is, as we mentioned with Congresswoman Schakowsky, the Obamacare contraceptive mandate before the Supreme Court yesterday. And of course, the president is about to visit the Pope tomorrow. So Senator Rand Paul thought that should be something he takes up with the Pope. Take a listen.
We ought to explain to the Pope why he is telling businesses in America they can't remain true to their faith and stay in business. The Hobby Lobby case is being discussed today, and I think it's important that he tell the leader of the Catholic Church why he thinks that businesses owned by Catholics can't make their own decisions with regard to health care.
I do think, McKay, it's going to be interesting to see how much this is talked about as we head into the election. We certainly saw, in spite of really nasty weather yesterday, an awful lot of protesters outside the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch this debate unfold on Twitter, which I have been for the last few weeks, and especially yesterday, this is one of the least productive and most vicious debates that I've seen. Like any big culture war debate, it strikes at the heart of people's identities, right? Each side is kind of deliberately trying not to understand each other. The progressives are saying this is a women's rights issue, a reproductive rights issue. Conservatives are saying this is a religious issue. Why we're seeing Republicans talk about this is religious liberty is where the social conservative base is headed. They know that fighting against gay rights is not ultimately a winning argument. They saw how in 2012 how effective the war on women argument could be. So what they're trying to do is shift the terms of the debate to say this is not about contraceptives, this is not about gay people. What this is about is protecting religious people's rights to exercise their free conscience. And the more we see conservatives talk about these issues, this is how they're going to reach the religious right voters without having, at least they believe, without having to alienate the rest of the country.
And yet at the same time, the Democrats think they have an argument too, because they're worried about the slippery slope.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying about taking the religious liberty argument sort of separate from the war on women, but let's face it, we're talking about contraception here. This is a women's issue. You had a male lawyer for an evangelical Christian company arguing before the Supreme Court that the women who work at that company should not get this. And you have 3 women justices, as you pointed out, who are the most vociferous advocates for, or at least questioning the Hobby Lobby point. So it's clearly become a gender issue, and I think what Republicans and conservatives are trying to do is thread a needle that they might not successfully do.
Beth Fooey, McKay, Coppins, good to see both of you again. Thank you very much. And